I'm Anthony Nguyen. Join us as we change the narrative around aged care, one story at a time. Welcome back to the Pioneers in Aged Care podcast. Here we have Justin Chadwick, Director at NewDirection Care.
Yes, thank you for having me this morning.
No, and I really appreciate you jumping in short notice. We had a little mishap, and I won't explain why, but we'll have Greg Alexson in the future.
Oh yeah, and hopefully Natasha at some point as well too, because her story is amazing.
Yeah, and I was thinking we could have that on site. We weren't able to do it today. I would love to visit one of your sites. I'll be back and forth to Brisbane anyway. And also you've got a new location coming up, which I'll let you share.
Yes.
But before we get cracking, I just want to say thank you to today's sponsors. So the sponsors for this episode is Optimum Allied Health, Aurelia Legal, and Keen Care. And I'll provide links below if everyone wants to check them out. There should be their logos up here somewhere. And I'll have some questions for them and that they'd like to add to the conversation as well.
Perfect.
So if we could start off with getting an understanding as to who NewDirection Care is, services you provide, locations, etc.
Yeah, certainly.
We'll start there.
Perfect. Well, I guess NewDirection Care is quite a young organisation. Our flagship microtown only opened in 2017, so I guess 8 years young at this point and counting. And at this stage, we have 2 communities within our portfolio. So our flagship community here in Queensland, in Belmere, but we also then have I'm at pains to say a more traditional community in Tasmania because it's not traditional. It was actually part of our research and development. We undertook a number of pilots there in terms of our build design, our care principles, our ethos, before moving into a larger development. And so it's organically taken on some of that within the main care centre as well. So it's more of a hybrid where it is maybe more traditional in its built form and in terms of its workforce structures, but it does some pretty exciting things already. But exciting news is that that community will be redeveloped, hopefully starting this year and coming into commission next year sometime.
That's awesome.
So exciting for everyone. So we've got the 2 communities. Across those sites, the focus is residential aged care, but we also then support NDIS participants, home care packages, and as well at Belmere, we've got a much larger, I guess, suite of amenities and services, including health and wellness services, cafe, cinema, those sorts of things. And they're not just targeted for the residents, the workforce, the families that visit the microtown, but also then the wider region that we support as well. So we're all about bringing community together, not segregating them.
So tell me the difference between a traditional model residential aged care facility and your microtown.
Well, the thing is there are many differences, and I think the easiest way to maybe compare the two is that often a lot of the seemingly small things that we actually really come to value as part of a normal life get lost, unfortunately, in a more traditional institutional model. Whereas the microtown, at its core, is around how do we support, how do we enable people to continue living their life as they get older, no matter their diagnoses, no matter their support needs. We work alongside them so that they can continue living the best quality of life that they want to live. So it can be something as simple as we've got gents that love to get on the mower with our maintenance team. Some communities might be pulling their hair out saying, oh, risk management. Yeah. We've got residents that still love to cook and they've got big kitchen knives. Again, risk management. But these are things that we do alongside the residents. We work with them, a much larger multidisciplinary team, and we also then bring families and their decision makers on that journey as well, so that they can support their loved one through that journey. Because sometimes those loved ones can sometimes be the ones that stand in the way of a good quality life as we age.
So it sounds like a blend of retirement living, a gated retirement living community and residential care.
Yeah,
And
it's funny because we often hear in our local community, oh, we thought you were a retirement village, or we drove past and we just thought you were part of the housing development that's in here. And so I think that's a really a testament to how well we've at least designed the built environment, is that it blends seamlessly into the rest of the community, which is great. But more importantly, we have that lifestyle, that culture within the microtown as well. So residents.
when you say microtown, how big are we talking? Are we talking about a block, a few blocks? Is it gated?
So I guess that you could view it as a gated community, but I think that's pretty reductive. It's too simple because at the end of the day, while we have certain built features that provide security and safety, residents can freely leave their homes, experience their microtown community, but also to leave the site. We have residents that take themselves to the local Woolworths or go across to their favourite hairdresser that they've always seen for 20 years. And so we're very careful to say that this is not here just to keep people in this community, but it's to create the accessibility, the convenience that you can still have all of these amenities and services in the comfort of your home, in the comfort of service providers that you're familiar with, and so that you don't lose contact with that.
Are they being accompanied by anyone, or they can go themselves?
It depends. So it depends on the assessed need. We have there are certainly residents that are more than capable to take themselves off site, and they do. We have a couple of ladies in particular, one who visits her friend quite frequently externally to the community, and then she finds her way back to the microtown where she lives. And another, like I said, her little gopher driving machine, she'll go to get on that at the front of her house, drive through the microtown to the front entrance. She'll be let herself out. She's even got a fob. So she doesn't have to wait for anyone. It's a normal life. She's living her life. And then she can drive around the community, and she often goes to the Woolworths, which is just the next block down.
What about those patients with higher needs? Residents with dementia?
Yeah.
How would that work? Obviously, they'd be accompanied then. But
yeah, most certainly. And with that, a lot of that it depends on the resident. Everything is individualized, and again, that comes back to one of our core values of individuality as an organisation. So we don't take blanket stances across anything. So we work with each person where they are at that point in time, and we wrap the support and services that they need for that point in time around them. So
sounds like a very personal concierge type service that everyone's assessed for their own needs, and they're allowed to do whatever they want accordingly.
Yeah, well, and the main thing is it's around finding ways to support that lifestyle. So what we certainly don't want to do is be obstructionary and find ways to prevent people from doing what they love, what they find meaning in the relationships that they hold dear. And so for us, it's around, well, instead of saying that could be dangerous, that could be risky, we take more of a positive risk approach, or something that I've heard recently is a negotiated risk approach, whereas they can make decisions. They're functioning adults, and with the support of then their families, any decision makers that they may have in their life, we then support them to do and continue doing what they love.
This sounds really difficult. Like, as in from an employee, or even from a nursing perspective, as a nurse coming from a standard conventional residential aged care facility, coming to microtown. Do you provide special training for this? Or?
Yes, most definitely. And I think that the one thing that I value and I love so much within our communities is the richness of the workforce. And that's because we're not prescriptive on qualifications, but depending on the role. Obviously, for more clinical roles, you will need to have those qualifications, but we are very much more values driven, and we then hire based on alignment to those values, our mission and our vision for the future. If we sort of have this internal dialogue and conversation all the time, which is having the skills and the qualifications is great, but we can't teach you to care. So we would much rather find someone that is really engaged, that love their job, then want to help people, and we'll teach them all the rest.
So all the homes in the microtown, so I forgot, what was the size of it again? Or how would you explain, or just to give me an idea as to the size or the homes, the number of residents?
Yeah. Well, I think the easiest way to visualize it, if you haven't seen us already or visited the website, is think of a retirement village. It might be the easiest concept to sort of think about.
Yeah.
We're on a just over 2 hectare parcel of land, and across that parcel we have 17 individual homes, and they're real homes. They're homes like you and I, that we'd be comfortable in, that we would walk in and feel familiar with. It doesn't feel like aged care. It's not clinical, it's not sterile, it's not medicalized in any sense. We are all about a lived experience of a normal life, and that means a normal home. So you have those 17 homes, but also then expansive gardens, green space, informal areas, parklands, barbecues, garden beds, men's shed, though the women in the community love it just as much, so probably shouldn't call it the men's shed. And so many other things, of course. Then in our community precinct, we have all of our amenities like the corner store, the cafe, arts and crafts, our health and wellness centre, which also has a hydrotherapy spa and gym, dental studio. So we're really trying to create, as the name says, a microtown. And anything that you need to live your life is easily available there. But if you want something else, if you want something more, we're also here to support you to find that externally to us as well.
So everything you need for a normal life, microtown has it.
We try our best, yes.
So if there's a zombie apocalypse, I'd be heading straight to microtown.
It wouldn't be a bad place to start off, no, yeah.
And within so 17 homes, within one home, how many?
So we have 7 residents typically in each home. There's a little bit of a variance because back in the day, well, still of issuing beds, the community was licensed for 120. So there's one house that has 8, but we sort of sit in terms of our model, in terms of that 7, 8, fluxing up to 9 as an absolute maximum of number of residents that we have in each home.
And what about the nursing or care model? Is it like a nurse's station in each?
Yeah. So like everything with the homes, everything's decentralized. We don't have large kitchens, large laundries. Everything's done in the home with the residents as much as possible so that they can continue doing these things if they want to and they enjoy them. But also then the same for our workforce. It's decentralized. While we still have maybe a main office space for people to work from, our team is out. They're in home, in the community, with the residents, with families, and that's where they should be. And so we have systems and processes so that they can work much more autonomously, much more remotely, and can do all the same work while still out there without having to then rush back to a nurse's station, which, when you think about it, logically is also quite inefficient. Always having to go back to somewhere to do something, to fill out some paperwork versus, oh, perfect, I've got a device with me and I can do everything real time, point of care, and it's done.
And tell me about your journey into aged care and NewDirection Care. How did that come about? Because you haven't been in aged care for prior to this?
No, I guess formally this is my first foray into aged care. I joined the organisation in 2020. Great timing, just before COVID really hit Australia. So my first experience was really that infection prevention and control, and really assisting the communities and the residents and the families through that journey. And we've got some amazing outcomes to sort of testify to how well we've done, but also to the benefits of the model with those sorts of concerns. But my journey is that this is a family business. So for your listeners, your audience, if they weren't aware, Natasha, our founder, is my mother. and my uncle Greg is also in the business as a director as well. And this was her journey, her vision. My uncle joined a few years before I did, and then I joined in 2020. But I've always, I guess, had a connection to care and support services, to aged care particularly, because growing up, I was living and breathing it. Mum has extensive career across aged care, retirement living, in-home care, even sort of private hospital space as well. And through that journey as a kid, I was maybe having holiday, like the school holidays, maybe doing some volunteering or working in that space, or spending time in those communities with my mum and the teams that were operating those communities. When I got older, as a probably not a younger man, but still as a teenager, started my first real type of, I guess, jobs. I wouldn't say career in the sector, and I've done everything from maintenance to supporting in kitchens and delivering meals to diversional therapy, lifestyle activities.
So you've always been involved in aged care without being officially involved. You've been
So
around it.
informally, it's just been a natural part of my life and our family. And that's why I think this is so natural now, that this next stage in this journey that my mother has taken is that this is becoming a family business, because it's always been that way anyway. And now more and more of the family are coming involved, or sort of related, on the outskirts.
Where did this model come from? This microtown model. I'm just fascinating about the inception of this idea.
Yeah. Well, if I go back to the start, at its core, Natasha, our founder, my mother, over her many years of experience in the sector, she probably wouldn't want me to say that, but she has a very long career and a very successful career. And it was through those experiences with residents, with families, and just hearing those growing calls that there has to be something more, there has to be something different, not necessarily better, because everyone chooses what they want, but a lot of people wanted something different from just the traditional models of aged care that have been around for 50, 100 years and still going. And that was really crystallised when my mum started to think about the future care needs of her mum, so my nan. And it was at that point, it was a bit of a stark realisation for her to say, ooh, I don't know if there's anywhere I'd be comfortable for my nan, her mum, to move into and to live, or that my nana would be happy to live in. And so it was at that point that my mother sort of really switched gears and said, okay, well, if we think and we know that we want something different, I'm in a perfect position to actually make that happen. So she put her money where her mouth is. She walked the walk, not just talked the talk. And that's what really started the journey. So that was back in around 2010. Extensive research and development, looking at international models and philosophies and approaches, but also local approaches here in Australia, because we've got amazing evidence, innovations, and thought leaders here as well. And I think it's important to point them out, because often we look externally instead of looking internally in this country. And from that, we then moved to that pilot in Tasmania, so that community that we're in the process of redeveloping. It was 2 small homes that adopted our workforce model, elements of our built design, our ethos and our model of care and service provision. And they were attached, but not, I guess, consumed within the other care centre that was there. So they operate completely autonomously. They have their own workforce that works specifically in those homes. And through that pilot, we had a resounding success. And even to this day, when we went back to the community to say we're looking to do some redevelopments here and to make some upgrades, the first thing were people saying, you're not taking the homes away, are you? Like, you're keeping that, like, I love this. And I think they were very happy when we said, no, we're just doing more of that. So from that success, there was then the confidence to then make this into a larger scale offering. And that's where then the microtown in Queensland came from. So that was a much larger move from 2 homes to 17, much larger workforce, much larger footprint, but also added in some different elements that we couldn't do during those initial pilots. So looking at all those amenities and services and some of the other, elements of the model so that we could continue to iterate, improve and evolve the model, which it's still doing today.
Were there any stumbling blocks? I'm sure there were plenty, but the stumbling block I'm particularly interested in is the thing that once solved, it paved the way for everything else. Because I'd imagine your model is, you're the first to do it. So there would be a lot of things where no one else has encountered. I'm curious as to any of those roadblocks where no one else has encountered, or something that paved the way for the rest.
I don't think that there's been any one hurdle that stands out in my mind. And to be honest, the things that I'm going to mention here are often what we hear from others in the sector, even from government themselves, in terms of how can you actually successfully operate this model and scale. It's things like financial viability. I don't understand, how does it work? How does it operate? How does it even continue to operate financially and successfully? We overcame those issues because the funding model has evolved since it was since ground broke in Queensland, moving through to ANAC, and now with the future reforms that are coming into place as well. Like everyone, we just have to adapt. But also then we're lucky in some respects that we also have so many other, revenue streams within that model. It's not all in aged care. So we can use those services to benefit, one, the residents that live in the community, but also then our workforce.
Can you give examples of those revenue streams?
Well, if we look at something that's quite popular and it's rising in popularity across the sector right now is more of those health and wellbeing services. Mm-hmm. So again, our on-site health and wellness clinic that has the gym, has the hydrotherapy spa, that has clinic rooms for our on-site healthcare practitioners, but also visiting practitioners that we partner with. Dental studio, if you look at that, first and foremost, that brings immense benefit to the people that live in that community, the residents. But when you then start to layer it out, our team also get to benefit from that. They can go and have physiotherapy services. They can get remedial massages. They can a hydrotherapy spa, even though it's a therapy spa, we also have people that just use it to have a spa and enjoy some champagne, if that's what they choose to do. So we open it up to more people. And so our team, our family and visitors, and then as well then the external community, we don't limit ourselves in thinking that this is only for the residents, because at the same time, that's not a real community in our mind. Real community is vibrancy. We've got intergenerational, we've got different cultures, backgrounds, ethnicities, socioeconomic backgrounds. We want the microtown to be a hub where everyone feels welcome and everyone can come. And so we have to open it up and we have to invite others in, and that works to our benefit.
To me, when I'm interviewing pioneers in aged care and interviewing people who are pushing new models and pushing a community, the difference between the old conventional model and this new era is the feeling that a child would get when visiting their grandma. Mm-hmm. So when in the conventional model, you're visiting your grandmother in a nursing home, it's kind of like, mm-hmm. You know, there's a bit of guilt, a bit of shame, so we better visit her, make sure she's not lonely. Yep. When you're visiting your grandma at home, you know, when I was 5 years old and my mum said, we're going to grandma's place. I'm like, yeah, it's going to be so much fun. Yep. That's the feeling that you're bringing back. People like yourself are bringing back with this new model and pushing the community aspect of it. Yeah. And that's
what we're trying to do.
So important.
Yeah. we really are trying, again, as we said, is a normal life, as normal as possible, but also to bring community back together, because I think it's well known that if you look at not just aged care, but across the care economy, if you look at NDIS, at early education, so many other services, even in-home support, they're often siloed. There's no connection between these groups. And for us, I think that's the greatest disservice that we can do as Australians, as a society, because I think more and more what we need to do is build social cohesion and connection. And so this is just our little way of moving that.
I'm curious what your employees think and their perception of coming to work. Is it coming to work, or is it just coming to hang out with one of your residents and, looking after them, but enjoying their time with them?
Yeah.
Because it wouldn't see, if you've got all these things, that they go to the cafe, they go to the gym, doesn't sound like work.
Look, I'm not going to lie, we've had some amazing outcomes and feedback, and we're working with local universities to sort of explore this further in terms of workforce engagement, but also then purpose and meaning and the drive that they have to continue working. But I'm also not going to lie, aged care is a hard industry to work in. When you think historically with the Royal Commission and a lot of the negative media sentiment that was pushed out into the general society, there was a stigma, and there still is very much a stigma attached to aged care, and sometimes that can be burdensome on everyone, including our workforce. But also then you think historically, which the government is making changes and reforms to, is that it was an undervalued workforce as well. But also then you think about particularly the type of people that this sector attracts. They are empathic people. And so the risk to not just burnout, but compassion fatigue, and really building relationships with people and being impacted by seeing their decline at end of life, there's a lot that we need to do to support everyone in our communities. And it's a big focus for us, because I don't think I'm alone in saying this, that if we've got happy, healthy team members, we're going to get much better results and much happier, much healthier residents, families, and just a society as general. So for us, we don't, again, when we think about person-centered care from a resident lens, we often mirror that as well then for our workforce, our contractors, everyone that engages with us, is how do we actually support you to be your best self, but also then to do the best job while you're here as well.
Now, what's on for the next 12 months? What's exciting you? Besides, obviously, Tasmania, that redevelopment, anything you're able to share?
Yes, certainly. Well, we are a small organisation. We run lean, and so there is a lot of focus on that Wynyard redevelopment, and we're very excited to see that sort of the breaking ground on that and making that change. Apart from that, it's really around consolidation, building on our foundations. As I said, we've got services in NDIS, growing into that support at home sector that's coming through, looking at other aspects as well, like our health and wellness services, our hospitality and retail, and really building this into a vibrant community where even if you're just from the local neighbourhood and you just need to get some milk or some bread, instead of having to get in your car and drive to the shops, they'd be like, I'm just going to pop over, I can get what I need. Maybe I can stop at the cafe and get a little coffee or something, or a ready-made meal that our teams also provide. And that's then my option. So for us, it's around building on the momentum that we've already got and building better for the future.
Okay, so maybe a Coles or Woolies in the near future.
Yeah, look, we've had some different discussions at different times with different providers, but at this point we're really comfortable with internalising all of those and making sure that the values, the philosophy that we as an organisation want to instill run through everything that we deliver, including something as simple as a corner store.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so I've got some questions from the sponsor here, sponsors. So the first question is from Dane Mitchell, the Managing Director of Optimum Allied Health.
Justin, NewDirection Care designs facilities with a clear emphasis on integrating wellness into the core of the resident experience. And I think this is very well exemplified by your wellness gyms. Can you elaborate on how you design your wellness facilities to fit into the overall design of your homes? And how do you deliver this service? I.e., do you deliver it with internal staff or also with external contractors? And finally, what outcomes have you been able to demonstrate, or your team been able to demonstrate, that show the success of your approach to wellness?
Great question. And then there's many parts of that. So I think I'll start with the fact that, like everything in the microtown, sort of guiding force and philosophy is as normal as possible, as normal a life as possible. Just like our homes, just like the corner store, the cafe, the same then for our health and wellness clinic. This isn't just some, blank room that has a couple of pieces of equipment that never get touched or people don't feel is accessible to them. It looks, it feels, and it operates just like a clinic out in the wider community. So that team has their specialist gym, the hydrotherapy spa, those clinic and consult rooms, and a full dental studio as well. So it's a place where you can come in, you're greeted by a receptionist or a team member. You can then wait in the waiting area, and then when your healthcare provider is ready to see you, you go up, you go into their clinic space just like you and I do normally. And so that's the big thing for us, is as much as possible we want to deliver the normal lived experience, because life shouldn't change just because you move from home or hospital or wherever you've been before into residential aged care.
Awesome.
Now, when it comes to the teams, the services, we have quite a large team of allied health professionals on staff. They're part of our team, and that team is growing. So we've got physios, OTs, occupational physiotherapist aides, and we're growing that and looking at other, specialties we can bring in, like psychologists and counsellors, looking at maybe we can internalise that dentist ourselves, GPs, other specialists, so that we can, again, provide as timely and best quality service to the people that live in the community, but also deliver that to our workforce, to our visitors, to our local community as well, because there is something special that we're doing, and we want to be able to share that with everyone.
Next question is from Nilesh Bansal, the principal and founder at Aurelia Legal.
Hello, my name is Nilesh Bansal, founder and principal of Aurelia Legal. We specialize in helping aged care providers plan workforce strategies and assist them with visa applications for their staff. My question is, in recent years, have you explored different avenues for addressing workforce gaps? And if yes, what have been the key learnings from the same? Thank you.
Yeah, certainly. I guess NewDirection Care, I don't know how universal this is, but our experience historically, on average, is that we don't have a large issue in terms of recruiting, particularly sort of our house companion support worker role, so the equivalent to a personal care worker and assistant nursing. And that's because we've taken a different approach. We're not qualifications driven, we're values and mission driven. If you've got the qualifications and that experience, that's awesome. But if you don't, if you align with our organisations, you're just as welcome. And we provide them that comprehensive onboarding training and ongoing training to support that career journey. And so what we see is that we have people that come from quite diverse backgrounds: real estate, logistics, trucking. We've had a couple of people come from the abattoirs even. And it's amazing the richness that they bring to the larger organization, but also the relationships and how they support the residents in the community, because they bring something different. They don't come with preconceived ideas or notions or stigmas that have to be unlearned. They're a blank slate. So that's been a really big benefit for us. We still very much welcome people with experience from aged care, from health, from NDIS, you name it. But we also expand that net to bring in a lot more people. And so we've been quite fortunate when it comes to that. The one thing that we have explored is more around registered nurses. And I think universally the sector understands that there just isn't enough supply to meet the demand. So I don't think there's anything unique that we'd be doing. We're certainly looking at offshore opportunities in terms of how can we upskill and bring registered nurses and other clinicians from Southeast Asia in particular, or other countries, into the country and into the organisation. But nothing has been sort of formally done at this point.
And final question from John Tomchik, the General Manager at Keen Care. What are the biggest administrative burdens that prevent your staff from spending more time providing direct care, and what solutions have you found to alleviate these burdens?
There's a diverse range of things, I guess. There's those back of house operational admin tasks, things as simple as payroll, rostering, taking in things like change of shift notice, sick leave, annual leave, all of those types of things. And then more on the coalface in the communities, in homes, you would see things like the note taking, the critical thinking and reasoning aspect of X has happened, what's my response? And we've taken many different steps. So when it comes to the back of house, we've recently adopted a new human resource information system, and that's then integrating with sort of payroll and some of our other systems to make things much more automated, much more accurate, timely and consistent, which has been an amazing thing for our team. But also then at the front end, for a number of years already, we have had a remote system. So we don't have nurse call bells, we don't have enunciators and the ticket tapes or anything like that, because that's not home. And because of that, then our team needs different resources and systems to support them. So everyone has a mobile device. Everything that they could possibly need is accessible through that. And so that supports them from note-taking to medication administration to alerts to even inter-team communication. They can contact everyone at the touch of a button, or they can contact direct people or groups of people, depending on who they want to speak to.
Now, I want to dig into you as a person, Justin.
This will be fun.
Yeah, outside of work, I know you're very involved and it takes a lot of your time. Outside of work, outside of family, just Justin time. What are you doing to entertain yourself, keep yourself, put a smile on your own face? Yeah. What are you doing in your personal time?
I have to admit, these days, it doesn't feel like I have a lot of Justin time. I do have twins that are 1 year old.
Okay,
so
that's fair.
I spend a lot of time with them, and I'm very happy to do that because they are beautiful. I'm a happy dad, and I love spending time with them.
Boys, girls?
One of each.
Oh,
so
nice.
One boy, one girl, and they are getting very cheeky. Their personalities are starting to come through now, which is beautiful. But when they are down for a nap, or we put them to bed for the night, things that I can find myself getting lost in would be things like science and tech. My background, I'm a bit of a science nerd, so I always get interested about the newest discoveries or things that are happening. And
what have you seen lately that's fascinated you?
Well, I guess this is also somewhat related to the business, because that's always how my mind works these days, is looking at the rise of AI and also general artificial intelligence, robotics, sort of that meshing of the two. And I'm particularly interested in this concept of general household robots. So think of a humanoid robot like you and I that we can ask to do the dishes, to do the vacuuming, to take the dog for the walk. And because of the AI systems built into it, it will learn over time.
What's Elon Musk's robot called?
I think it's called Optimus.
Optimus,
like Transformers.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there are a number of different organizations in North America, Europe, in Asia, particularly China, which has some really exciting things happening.
Have you reached out to any of them to explore?
I've made some initial sort of inquiries.
Yeah.
But I think in terms of where that technology is, we're probably still a ways away in terms of it really being adopted commercially by the public, either in their homes or then in the next step in maybe in those acute settings, subacute settings, and in aged care.
I reckon within 5 years. It's happening faster than we expect.
It is happening fast, and I'm certainly keeping my finger on the pulse. But yeah, I go down rabbit holes. So if it's something like that, or a recent fascination has been watches and that sort of stuff, or travel. I've got a few different passions. They're probably just taking a bit of a back burner these days with the kids.
You're a watch aficionado?
I wouldn't say I'm an aficionado, but maybe just an enthusiast.
Yeah.
I certainly like to see that industry and staying in contact with it in terms of the different designs and what's coming out. Looking at the grey market and resale of watches versus from a distributor, but it's more of just sort of a fantasy type thing.
What are you liking in the, let's say, $500 price range? What? Because I'm sort of in the market, but I'm not going to blow my budget on it. But at the same time, I don't know anything about watches. But if I could spend $500 on even a second-hand watch, what should I be looking at?
It honestly depends. I would say because of where we're based geographically, that looking at something like a Japanese brand, which has really great legacy and history in terms of watchmaking, which people may not necessarily recognize. It's always thought of a European thing, a Swiss thing, in some respects a German thing as well. But Japan has a great legacy in watchmaking. And so if you look at brands like Seiko, for instance, you could find something for anyone. They've got, I've got a little beater that I wear a lot of the time, a little Seiko. I think it only cost me $100 or something like that, and I love just wearing that and just having something on my wrist. But that brand also then has offerings that go into luxury, premium type ranges as well. So they support sort of the range of customers.
Well, yeah, I will ask my wife to make notes for Father's Day, even though Mother's Day is coming up, so I should really be looking at stuff for her.
She can get in contact if she wants any, like, where do I go first?
Yeah. Look, Justin, thank you so much. Really appreciate having you on the podcast. It's always a pleasure chatting to you, just a normal, regular chat, even on the phone. It's always a good time. Thank you so much. Is there anything in this podcast that you wanted to cover or get a message across that we didn't get to touch on?
I think maybe one for the wider industry, but also media and government is that this is a beautiful industry, a beautiful sector. I think in your own language, it's sexy. And one thing that I think we really need to start doing is talking more about the positives, the wins, and the beautiful things that we see every day. And get that messaging out there, because I think sometimes there's a bit of a misunderstanding or misrepresentation of the sector, of what we do, of the people that work in it and live in it. And I think we need to do much more to change that narrative, because we do have a great system. If you look and compare ourselves across the world, this is something we should be proud of. That doesn't mean we shouldn't want to improve it, but I think we should recognise that it is still a great system, and we have an amazing safety net and sector that supports older Australians here in Australia.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Justin.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Cheers, guys.
Thank you.